Hi, everybody. I know it's been a minute since everyone has seen me or heard from me. It's pretty much like I fell off the face of the planet. But I'm here, I'm back, I am well, and I've had such a beautiful community of persons who have been reaching out to me to find out just on how are you doing? What are you doing? Where are you? Is everything okay? And while I would love to respond to everyone individually in the depth that they would like, I just can't. And so I decided, why not make a video of it? Maybe start a YouTube channel to share, to educate, and ultimately to advocate. So here it is. Let's get into it. So I thought to start out, it'd be great for me to introduce myself in case you don't know who I am. I'm Jasan Sutherland. At the time of this recording, I am 27 years of age, and I live in the Caribbean on a beautiful island called Jamaica. And I have been diagnosed with cancer 3 times. Now, this video is pretty much to share my story of my latest diagnosis, which I think is the one I've probably shared the most about, or most recently about. And so to kind of just take you through the last year of my life, through from the point of diagnosis to know where I'm at and what I'm doing. So here goes. But before we get into it, I do want to say this. This is going to be my little disclaimer that there's a bees buzzing beside me. That's not the disclaimer though, guys. So my disclaimer is that this video is basically me sharing my personal experience, my journey, my choices that I've made in regards to my life. And so you hear the emphasis on me and mine. Anything that you hear in this video, any of the physicians, clinicians, facilities that I may speak on, or treatment paths, if you are interested in them for yourself because you've been diagnosed with something similar, I do urge you to please speak with your healthcare provider before making any decisions. Treatment, healthcare is something that is very specific to the individual, and the choices that I have made basically because of a lot of factors and a lot of variables that come into play that a lot of persons aren't privy to. However, your healthcare provider, they are privy to all your factors, all your variables, and what you want for your health. So speak with them, make a decision that's right for you. All right. So before I start, this is a heavy topic, a complex topic. It's been a very convoluted journey thus far. And one of the things I like to do before I start, this piece is scaring me. Pause a second, guys. All right, so I ushered Mr. B-Man out the window. So before I usually start discussing heavier, weighty topics, I usually like to kind of just set my intentions and set my mind on what I'm choosing to focus on and the lens through which I want to examine this or to have a conversation. And today I want to talk from a place of grace, from a place of gratitude, and also from a place of honesty. I feel like a lot of the things that I have witnessed, that I have experienced in my life, aren't necessarily spoken of very often. And so I want to amplify my voice and amplify the beauty and the power of truth. Because representation matters, and I believe that there might be someone out there who is in a similar position to me, who wants the information I have to share and the truth that I have to share. So, yeah. So like I said before, been diagnosed with cancer 3 times. The first diagnosis came at the age of 12. It was bone cancer. The second diagnosis came at the age of 21 when I was in university, and that was triple negative breast cancer. Now, my third diagnosis, I shared the news publicly in about, I think, August of 2019, but the story starts a few months before that, in April of 2019. So I'm going to start there. So in April, I was living my everyday life, and one thing my family and my friends can tell you about me is that I am very vigilant, especially when it comes to my body and my health. And so while having a shower one day, I felt a lump on the top of my left breast at the time, yeah, my left breast. And I was like, what in the world is this? And I was especially curious because, again, given my history, not only have two separate battles with cancer, but also the fact that after my breast cancer battle, or after my diagnosis of breast cancer in 2014, at the time I opted to have a double mastectomy and reconstructive surgery. So in my mind, we exhausted all our options. We went about it very aggressively. So what was this new thing doing here? And so I visited my GP, and she said to me, given your history, I don't want us to just sit and wait and guess what this is. Let's do some investigations. And so she recommended that I do an ultrasound and a fine needle biopsy. I did those in about, I would say, May region, and the results came back that it was a fibroadenoma, a benign mass. It was not cancerous. Now, I know for some persons, they would probably stop right there and be like, oh, well, it's okay. I'm not going to do anything about it. However, for me, if something is growing somewhere it should not be, I want it out. Once it can safely be removed, I want it out. And so I reached out to my plastic surgeon who had done quite a few of the pretty much all of the reconstructive surgeries I had done previously, to ask if he could remove the lump, and also because I wanted some adjustments to be made to the implants I'd had in at the time. And he said, sure. I mean, of course, let's do it. Simple thing. So we both checked our schedules. I had a couple weeks coming up where I would be off from work in June. And so I said, all right, June is perfect to do the surgery. I will use, the time off from work to recuperate, to rest before I can get back into it. So about middle to end part of June, went in, did surgery. He sent the tumor, the mass he removed, off to the lab for further testing. And I pretty much was home. I went home like the same day we did surgery. Sorry. So thereafter, I of course checked in with him to ensure that everything was healing nicely. I was looking well and I was doing well. We still hadn't gotten back the test results, and so I made the decision that I would return to St. Elizabeth, where I was living, and carry out my daily life. At the time, I was, of course, treating my patients as a physiotherapist and just loving life and falling in love with St. Elizabeth. But I was also going through the final stages of the sheavening process. Sorry, another little bee creature decided to buzz on in to my video. So yeah, I was going through the final stages of the sheavening process and just really getting really amped, really excited about what was to come. And so fast forward now to the end of July, I had done all the necessary steps, and I got the email from the sheavening secretariat that I had been officially awarded a sheavening scholarship. It was a beautiful day. It was a really beautiful day. I remember when I saw the email, I pretty much spent the rest of the day doing like my little personal photo shoot on the balcony at work, calling, messaging all my family members and friends, and just sharing the news. Because I was just so overjoyed. I was just so excited. It was just such a beautiful opportunity. I could not believe that the Sheavening Secretariat chose me as a 2019 Sheavening Scholar to go and study a master's in advanced neurophysiotherapy at the prestigious University College London. Yeah, I made it happy, made it proud. I was real happy. And so that day ended. The following day, I of course went back to work because it wasn't like I was gonna fly out the next day. And I remember we were having a team meeting, and I saw that my phone was ringing, and it was my plastic surgeon calling. No, I really wasn't alarmed because, like I said, he and I had had a quite long-standing relationship as a patient and a practitioner, and I know that sometimes he would, reach out to me to ask or to seek my opinion on a patient of his. And so there were a number of reasons he could have been calling me. So I answered the phone, and he said to me pretty much, you need to come in and see me. And I said, see you for what? Like, I'm all the way in St. Elizabeth, you're in Kingston, like, this is not an easy trip for me to make, and I'm at work right now, so what's happening? Just tell me over the phone. And he shared that, he got back the test results, and the results, it wasn't what we expected. And I need to come in so that we can discuss it and get started. I just heard that someone, I had to investigate. So yeah, come in and get started. And I remember literally just feeling the blood just drain from my face, feeling so devastated, hanging up the phone, going back into our team meeting, and just bawling, just crying. And I knew I couldn't continue with the workday anymore. And so I went to my house, packed up what I could, and literally drove straight out of St. Elizabeth to the hospital in Kingston. And I remember when I walked in to the room, the first thing he did was he hugged me. And that meant a lot to me because he knew what was at stake. He knew I was in the process of trying to go back to school, of trying to secure this scholarship. He knew that I was pretty much now starting my life, really kicking things into gear after the first breast cancer diagnosis, and to have something like this happen. He felt for me. And he basically shared that, the test results showed that there were malignant cells. And so it was not benign as we had previously thought. And we need to pretty much figure out what's happening and treat it. And so honestly, while I was sitting there with my life literally falling to shambles before my eyes, one of the other things I appreciated from him is that he offered me guidance. Before I could even ask, okay, what do we do next? He was like, all right, so you're going to do staging now, and we're going to do this scan, and I've already called ahead to this place, and they have an appointment for tomorrow at like 2 p.m. So if you can't make that appointment, you need to do this scan, and this place does it at this cost, so you need to secure that, and I've already called ahead to this clinician to tell them to expect you. And he was really so helpful. I can't thank him enough. And so I pretty much left the office with a handful of paperwork that I had to now go and do. And the hardest part, beyond hearing the news, was going home to tell my family. Walking in the door, seeing everyone surprised to see me, but also excited that I'd be going to England to study, only for me to tell them, no, we're not. The cancer is back. Yeah. It was a hard thing to do. And so the next couple of days was pretty much me calling around, setting appointments, but also going on what I nicknamed my world tour, in which I went to a few of my close friends and in person shared the news. The news that the cancer was back. I didn't know why, I don't know what's happening, and I'm trying to figure it out. And it was heartbreaking to have to say it again and again and again, and to see the excitement dim in their eyes, and to see the truth set in for them. It was hard, but it was also heartwarming to feel the love and support that they extended to me during this time. And so pretty much we started on this whirlwind of setting appointments, doing scans, speaking to clinicians, figuring it all out. And while I was doing all of that, there was one test I especially wanted to do, which was a genetic test, because in my mind, I didn't believe this was just coincidence. There must have been something bigger going on, something bigger behind all of this, some underlying reason I wasn't seeing. And so I wanted to do the genetic testing. And so I went, gave the sample, and was told in a couple of weeks I'd get better results. I went and I did the CT scan. The test results came back showing that even though we had removed one tumor in June. On the scan, we were now seeing at least 3 more in my pec major muscle and also on my chest wall, the left side of my chest wall. And also some possible pelvic involvement. That's what it said pretty much. And so we were again going to consults, seeing gynecologists, speaking to other surgeons to find out, okay, are we going to go back in and do more surgery? What's next step? What can we do? And so I remember my plastic surgeon saying, all right, come on, now that we've seen that there are these other lumps, these other tumors that are there, we need to go back in and do surgery. And so even though we're waiting on some other test results, I think next week would be a good time to do the surgery. And I was like, sure, yes, I'm ready, let's get it going. However, you know when people say when it rain it pour? Yeah, that's what happened. Because I woke up one morning, wasn't feeling well, long story short, went to my health center, did a test, got the results back that your girl got dengue. Yup, so I caught dengue. Was in a lot of pain, feeling so uncomfortable. And no, this forced us to literally hit pause on our surgical plans because I was in no shape to go in and do such an extensive surgery. Because what we were discussing at the time in terms of surgery was to go in, take a large portion of skin, of course remove the implant, and to possibly remove a portion, if not all, of my pectoralis major muscle. Now, anyone in the medical field knows that that's like not a decision you make lightly. And I was really concerned because removing that muscle, what function did I have there after surgery? Could I care for myself? Could I work? And so it was really weighing on my mind that not only was my life in shambles and at risk, but also my livelihood, my work as a therapist. Would I ever be able to return to that? And so dengue passed. We decided to go ahead with the surgery date and went in, did surgery, came out, and I remember the following day when they came by to change the dressings and someone gave me a mirror and I looked at myself and just being completely speechless. I mean, you do think about aesthetics, but honestly for me, aesthetics was kind of far down the line of my concerns. Again, my main concern was my functionality. And seeing how my chest looked, I was speechless, honestly. And in future, I want to make another video speaking about body image after being diagnosed with breast cancer, after undergoing treatment, no matter how mild or how extensive, about self-image, how you see yourself, how you feel about yourself thereafter, because I don't feel like it's something that's discussed often enough. And I feel like whilst practitioners are there to help us save our lives, after they've done the surgeries and given the drugs, etc., we as patients have to now inhabit our bodies. We have to live in the aftermath. And it's not really spoken of how do you even begin to feel normal, to feel like a woman again. How you even navigate life, intimacy, sexuality, your sensuality, your dressing. It's not really spoken of. And so in another video, I want to speak a little bit more on that. And so I spent, back to post-surgery now, I spent a couple of days in the hospital and went home and immediately reached out to my physiotherapist to say, we need to start working because I'm really concerned and I don't want to wait and not have any range, not have any functionality. And so we started working and realized, yes, I did have range. I could still care for myself because we took a portion of the pec major muscle, not all of it. However, I had pretty much no strength. And so we began working on that and then also doing some wound healing because by this point we were concerned or we were thinking about doing either radiation or chemotherapy as our next step. And for either one of those treatment paths, your body needs to be in the best shape possible for it. Now, whilst my doctors were considering radiation and chemotherapy, I've had chemotherapy before, at least twice. on two separate occasions, sorry, for the previous two diagnoses, and I did not want to do chemo again. Hell no. So I started looking internationally for treatment centers, especially non-toxic cancer treatment centers. And when I say I was looking everywhere, I was looking everywhere. Not just the States, not just Canada, but places as far as Israel, Germany, Finland, Mexico, like wherever it was. I didn't know where money was coming from, but I was willing to figure it out and fly myself there. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I was looking. Around about this time as well, we started getting back some of the other test results from the bone scan and also the genetic testing that I did. The bone scan showed that there were no mets. I hadn't spread to the spine or the bones. So I was like, yes, that's amazing. But the genetic test results came back showing that I had a genetic condition. A condition called Fraumeni syndrome. Now, Fraumeni syndrome, just to give a very quick overview, is a TP53 genetic mutation. Now, that gene is a tumor suppressor gene, and in my body, it pretty much didn't work really well. You know, it never did work with me. And so in my body, when cells starts to multiply rapidly and things start to grow, that protein, that gene that would come in and be like, hey, stop growing now, like just relax, build, chill, it's not there. So these cells continue to multiply, things continue to grow and form into tumors, into malignancies. And so it makes me more prone to developing multiple cancers. And also my medical history kind of just fell in line with that. Because in Fraumeni syndrome, there are a couple areas that are common for you to develop cancers. So bone, which I had at age 12, breast at age 21, and then now what we presume to be a reoccurrence at age 26. And the other areas I believe are skin and brain, if I'm not mistaken. But again, you can go look it up to learn more for yourself. And maybe I'll do another video on that someday. I don't know. So we got back those results, and while it gave us answers, it gave me even more questions of how do I treat this? What am I going to do? What would the rest of my life even look like? There is no cure. Pretty much treatment or management of Fraumeni syndrome in the research speaks a lot to risk reduction. So reducing the risk of developing multiple malignancies, but there is no fail-safe cure-all that I can take and just magically be fixed. So that was pretty much devastating. At this point in time now, we also started getting back some of the other results that showed us that what we thought was a recurrence of triple negative breast cancer, it wasn't. This cancer was a whole brand new, fresh out the box, out of left field diagnosis. Hormone positive breast cancer. ER/PR positive, HER2 negative, to be more specific. And we were like, wow, okay, let's figure out what we can do. Now again, like I said before, we had gotten answers, but this left us with a lot more questions. Because after a diagnosis like this, the common treatment paths, especially going through the hospital route, is chemotherapy, radiation. Now again, I did not want to do chemotherapy again, but I even more so did not want to do radiation, because studies had shown that in persons with Fraumeni syndrome, radiation actually increases your risk of developing more tumors, more cancers. And so I was like, I don't want more of this, so I'm not doing radiation. I don't want to do it. Let's just leave that alone. And so that now sparked a whole conversation, a whole debate, because different clinicians were saying, should we still do it? And, you know, roll the dice and see what comes thereafter? Or should you look internationally to get a second, third, fifth opinion? What should we do? Sorry, I was having a little personal summer moment. It was hot. So we're trying to decide what next to do. Now, I'm still searching internationally and pretty much finding out that international treatment ain't cheap. At this point in time, I wasn't working anymore because I was pretty much now having to stay in Kingston to, you know, sort out all the medical management, and wasn't earning any income pretty much all my savings at this point was now being not even exhausted, pretty much depleted on all the surgeries, all the test measures and consults that we had been doing. And so I was still in the hospital system going that route because that was the cheapest route to take. Started now seeing a hematologist and trying to figure out, okay, fine, if we're thinking to do chemotherapy, what would that look like? What would be best, etc. And pretty much honestly, it was a lot of run around. Because remember, surgery was in August, and here we were now pretty much in October with still no concrete course of action, no plan, and kind of still trying to figure it out because I really couldn't find anyone who had experience or a lot of knowledge in dealing with someone with Fraumeni syndrome, and this being their third cancer diagnosis at the age of 26. So yeah, it was pretty tricky. But we decided, okay, chemotherapy seems like a likely path that I can also afford. So let me go and have a portacath placed. I had one placed for my first and second diagnoses, and it really made chemotherapy, at least the infusion portion of it, really easy. And so I had that placed, but still I had my eye open. I had, I was looking out the side of my eye for other treatment options that were about. Now, whilst we were doing that, I again was having a lot of run around, going to the hospital. Docky can't be found, results can't be found. Meeting with one clinician this week, the following week coming back and finding that person is no longer on that service or they're on leave or on vacation or whatever the case may be. And we were pretty much getting fed up because we weren't getting anywhere. And so my mother recommended to me, hey, yeah, it's pricey, but what about if you go and see a consultant who has, several years experience, let's call her Dr. G, who had treated me from my initial diagnosis at age 12 for bone cancer. And so I made an appointment, went to see her, and that visit, yeah, sorry y'all, I'm at home, so home sounds. So at that visit, I left pretty much feeling, how do I put it? Feeling so affirmed, feeling like I was finally talking to someone who understood the gravity of what we were tackling, and also someone who was prioritizing me as a patient. Because one of the things I loved about her was her readiness to say, I don't know. She didn't pretend that she had all the answers or that she knew it. And she was always quick to say, I don't know a bit, but I think I might know someone who knows something, so let me call them. And literally before me pick up the phone and start talking to them. And I appreciated that because it showed that she was willing to learn more and to really apply herself to help me. Now, while it felt so great, with private visits come private visit money. I had no health insurance, to this day still don't. And before anyone asks me, have I tried applying for health insurance individually? Yes, I have. And have I been rejected multiple times? Yes, I have. Because pretty much insurance companies with me, they're guaranteed they're going to be paying money out. Even before the third diagnosis, on a yearly basis, I was doing regular checkups and visits and tests and measures. And to them, I'm pretty much too high risk. And this was even before the genetic condition diagnosis. So, yeah, I was paying everything out of pocket, and the pocket wasn't very deep anyway. So I reached back out to the clinician I was seeing at the hospital, told them, hey, I went and I got a second opinion, spoke to this consultant. She gave me some information. I want to share it with you and to see how, we can bring everything together and pretty much move along. And the response I got from the clinician via email was that, well, if you went and you saw her, I don't need to be involved. So all the best, bye. And that was that. So I said, okay, so clearly I'm gonna just be working with Dr. G because I'm tired and I'm fed up of this run around business thing and whatever. But if I'm going to be sticking with Dr. G, I have to figure out how am I going to finance this private care. So again, started leaning on family members, but everyone, has their own life and their own bills and things that they have to pay for. And so we were trying to figure out how to make it work though. And I remember going to lunch with one of my really good friends, and they asked me, how are you managing financially with all of this? Because almost every day I call you, you're having some new test measure you need to go do, and it ain't cheap and it ain't free. Certainly not. So how are you managing? And I was saying to them, honestly, I'm really much taking it day to day, scraping up every little penny I can from everywhere, from savings accounts, from little investment funds, selling what I can to pay for this thing. And he was like, there are persons in your community who have heard the news and would be willing to support you. And so I really think you should start like a crowdfunding page, kind of as a way to kind of like streamline and make the process of them, helping you financially a little easier. So that I wouldn't have to go about driving around to everyone's home, to collect or to giving out information to everyone individually. And so initially when he said that to me, I shut it down because I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Yep. Honestly, that was a prideful response because anybody that really knows me will say, yeah, Jasan will stubborn and Jasan don't like ask for help. So it really, what happened is that pretty much by going now to this private practitioner, we started noticing that we were feeling tumors at the scar line. And I thought, it could have been scar tissue, but she said to me, no, just let's not think it's scar tissue, let's get it checked out. And pretty much, thinking of, okay, what if it is that these tumors have grown back? How am I going to manage all of this financially? If it is that I'm seeking to travel internationally, I don't have the money to pay for that. And so crowdfunding might be, I might need to do that because at this point I wanted to live more so than protect my pride or my ego. And so I told him, if I'm going to do it, I want to do it my way. I don't want to throw no pity party for myself and be all woe is me. I don't want to. I want to do it my way. And I want also to share when I'm ready. Because even as easily as I'm speaking about this now, it was a lot to process. And it was taking, my mental health was taking a very big hit. And it was about this time that I said to myself, I need a therapist. I can't do this on my own. I can't manage this on my own. And I need a therapist. And I wanted someone who had experience dealing with, chronic illnesses or cancer diagnoses. And finding someone specializing in that area ain't cheap. It certainly ain't free. And so that was another expense coming. But I knew it was necessary. And again, this is probably another topic I'm going to have to make a video on because I don't believe that enough attention is paid to the psychological well-being of patients after they've been diagnosed with devastating, catastrophic illnesses or diagnoses. I don't think we put nearly, if any, attention at all towards it, and I think it's definitely something that needs to be given more light, that needs to be given more importance. And so I'll speak on that in another video. And so pretty much in November we decided, all right, let's go launch this crowdfunding page. Now when I made it, I will say I pretty much just wanted to share it with a couple persons in my circle network. However, I didn't necessarily communicate that to them, and I shared it with about 10 persons, and within an hour I was getting back messages of, yeah, I sent it to this person in my church group and this, community that I work with and my organization and my boss and my this and my that. And it was spreading like wildfire. And I was nervous. I was really nervous, but I said, you want me to tell you what? I can't take it back right now. Let it have a life of its own. I need to now focus on my health. Because at this point now, we were doing more investigations on these tumors that we were now feeling, or these nodules that we were now feeling along my scar line. Did an ultrasound and a core needle biopsy, with Dr. Cornwall. Big up yourself, Dr. Cornwall. Love that woman. Amazing clinician. And the results came back that what we thought we had removed pretty much had not grown back again. Thank you all so much for making it to the end of part 1. I wouldn't be a good physiotherapist if I didn't recommend that you break here, go outside, get some fresh air, do some stretches. Definitely like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and come back and tune in for part 2 where we continue the story. See you then.